So can you pause it for a minute?
Oh, sure. Okay. It's now 6:02. So I'm thinking you want to call the meeting to order.
Sure, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:02. Do a roll call, please.
The roll call is President Palmer,
Here.
Vice President Pharaoh,
Here.
and General Manager Rowe. Here.
All right. Any comments from directors?
No, that's for me.
I have no comments either.
Public comments, there is nobody on at the present time.
Okay, keep an eye on that. We'll move to item 5, administrative agenda approval of the meeting minutes from the October 6th Finance Committee.
I reviewed that earlier and I'm sure to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is that your motion to
Yeah,
approve?
yes.
Okay. Yes, I can second it. All those in, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Are you, Bob, are you a voting member? Of this?
No.
You're not? Okay.
Yeah, I am a member, but
not a voting member.
not a voting member.
Gotcha.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 6, business items review and recommend to full board of director payment of invoices to the district.
And Madam President, as I indicated, I passed out the vendor analysis that reviews each of the bills, and basically the status, the year to date, as well as the remaining budget. I will note that year to date also includes all of the pending bills that are before you tonight. It may be a bit different than what you're looking at, only because what you're looking at was based on September's billing.
This, when you say, because I'm looking at that, what I'm
Right.
trying to do is,
Right.
and it seems like, I don't know if this can become this, or instead of having 2 documents, just have a snapshot of where we are.
Right. And
Because this has the contract value, like I still am, if the contract value on this, like for instance, the load study
yeah,
shows year to date, and we have contract remaining 3,000, and it's supposed to be finishing. Anyway, I'm just, if we're using this as a tool,
right.
and is it up to date?
Only largely, except for this, the added information here,
Okay.
but this information only reflects the invoices that are pending tonight.
Okay, so, well, do you have a specific questions you
Well,
want to ask?
the only thing I would ask is on some of these projects, it would be really helpful to have them flagged, which are the, like, for instance, the a lot of the GSI work is paid for by the county
Yes.
that we got. And then there's others that aren't. There is work that isn't. For instance, your invoice and M&S invoice and legal
Right.
invoices those are full freight of the district.
Right.
And so, you know, it would be just helpful to have those separated out or flagged by color or somewhere. Just that would help me because
Especially as we get into the matching fund
yeah.
approvals too,
Yeah.
because we're paying those in advance, right?
Because otherwise you don't really know where we stand,
Which
like on
bucket.
how much out of pocket money are we spending ourselves? That's the only thing I just ask for.
Sure.
If there's a way to do that.
And yeah, and have it in one place, because I can see breaking this down. So I guess what I was trying to do was tie the GSI invoices back to these 2 tasks, right?
Right.
So this one shows. So the injection fees, I mean, we have them like, there's 3 different names. There's injection well, rough estimate, injection feasibility, and then I think on their invoice, it says groundwater quality management services or
Well, there are
preliminary
actually,
cost analysis?
actually, there are three. The first one was the $85,000.
Okay, so which of these two invoices that you're asking us to approve goes against?
The 85,
85.
the first, the GSW, GSI, it says 87.6.
Right, so it says groundwater quality management services, which isn't really particularly helpful.
And if you remember, I meant to get a copy of their actually task, but they had 4 or 5 tasks in the original scope of work. The first task was the groundwater monitoring plan itself. The second task was a hydrogeologic study, which they've also completed. The third was to do a monitoring well to try and determine what was within the groundwater itself. And that was to be just a monitoring well, it wasn't to be the heavy cost.
Right, but so then we need to break them out if there's 3, what the approved budget is, how much we've spent, and then where this fits in.
Sure.
What. So I thought that's what we were trying to do with this this cost summary all along.
And, you know, that's something that Doug was using, and I can modify it further to reflect what you want. I will say that what you've got before you in terms of the GSI planning, groundwater planning services, the original contract amount was $85,000.
Right.
A good portion of that, as you recall, was spent last year. So the time we started this fiscal year, you had a balance left of $47,612. Year to date is $13,932. And that brings us just right up to if the board would want to go ahead with the construction or the implementation of that monitoring well, which is different than the major.
Yeah, and then if we come back with that, that's one that's really key. We need to know, because I don't recall if that was included in the county covering the cost or not. It was. Yeah,
the part of the initial that initial monitoring well, and that's the amount that's left. There's 33,680 that's left, and I've paused them on that for the time being.
Yeah, and so that, we need to circle back and then figure out, and not put money towards something that we may or may not do until we know that's the route that we're going to do. So that's what the first GSI is. The second is the feasibility, and when it says injection feasibility, that's the high planning estimate. And there were several different tasks associated with that study. That's the really expensive study. The total they were requested was $217,000. In August, the board approved at least going ahead with the first task, which was the a high-end planning estimate of $12,500.
The preliminary cost analysis.
Right.
I mean, it just,
and so that's that invoice is in front of us right now.
Right.
11,000.
Yeah, and that I would say that was money well spent because of what they alerted us to.
Yeah.
And those are the 2 GSI that are pending today.
So where? I mean, I'm just, again, looking at this. So the 4706 doesn't show up on here.
The 47, which 47.
Well, I'm just looking at
the beginning balance.
Well, no, I'm just looking at this invoice.
Oh.
So it's for the planning.
That's the planning.
Again, it's a total of
4706, and that's actually included in this 13,932. That
Okay,
there are actually two invoices. There was a previous invoice which was authorized for payment
right.
last time.
Okay.
And that amounted to, I think, about $7,300. So that plus the 4,706.26 brings you to 13,000
Okay, so it's still within.
within
right.
this fiscal year.
And then on the injection feasibility, we're pretty much done.
Right.
We've got 1,400 and
We're not expecting anything further from GSI
okay, I just,
for that one.
okay. So I have a question on process. So when you get these, do you review them and ask questions of them?
Yes.
And, okay, I just want to understand that what you forward to us as a finance committee has already been reviewed.
It's been reviewed, yes. Alshire and Winder, with the two billings that you have significantly increased. And that's largely due to the, two things really. We've had a few extra meetings, but mostly it is the public records requests, which is broken out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be expected. And then we also had them do the SR or the SB 9
Well,
and 10.
that will show. up.
That'll show up.
There's some of it already in here
Is there?
Yeah.
He's probably, some of the.
through the end of this. So
Yeah, actually,
That's,
what happened in this particular case, which I felt good about, is they were very timely in getting the billing to me for October. They have been lagging behind. So you have both September and October billings in front of you. So in terms of Alshire and Winder, they're up to date except for what they're spending right now.
And Ross is going to be in person tomorrow?
No.
Or
December.
In December, right.
yeah, I mean, we've actually saved because
Yeah.
he's been,
Yeah.
I don't want to say saved, haven't spent
Yeah.
a lot because of travel.
So, you got 61% of the budget left there. The original budget was for legal services was 27,000.
And
We just need to watch that closely because if there's, and I could see going forward, depending on what happens with, legal issues and what we ask of him to look at, like, and understanding SB 10 is important, and that's additional work he's going to charge us for. And so we need to be prepared to manage that extra cost if it comes to us before the end of the year.
right, well, and we'll talk about it tomorrow night, but if there is any legal action, that's a separate rate and a separate category. So
And that most likely would require a budget amendment. I would think so.
I think we'll learn more tomorrow in closed session when we recess.
The going on to M&S.
So can we,
Yes.
do we want to take, like, I'm prepared on 1, 2, and do we want to go through all of it and approve it, or do we want to knock them off as we do it? What's your preference? I guess.
I was thinking to go through them all,
Okay.
and if we need to pull some,
Okay.
we'll pull them rather than,
Okay.
especially with the roll call stuff.
So,
It just seems easier.
On the two M&S, I realize these are one's for July and one's for August. And those numbers combined with your general manager costs, we're gonna see these lower in those future months. Can we expect that?
I would say so. July and August, are high, and the reason that they're high, if you go back and look at the invoices, 2 points. The actual engineering cost is relatively low. It's mostly the support costs coming from, you know, M&S in particular. And the things that drove it were, you know, we got the project update out in early July that required a bit of work and a mailing because we sent that to every address. You know, back and forth relative to trying to get this list set up, the email stakeholders list.
So, yeah, and I expected that. We'll just see when, like, for instance, when October and November M&S invoices come in and compare to that plus your cost. I mean, the expectation was is we were going to have
That you're going to have a net savings.
net
Right.
savings.
And-
So that's what I'm going to be looking for.
Me
And
too.
and if there's not, then we should look at it and say, well, what are we double doing?
Or what can we do differently?
Yeah, because so just to your point, Tom, on this M&S engineering support, does that, I believe we budgeted for admin from M&S, but is that captured in the 18 or is that a separate?
That's, you know, I need to go back. I think I have the agenda. I can, our budget, I can take a look at it.
Well, we've got it right here. It's in the packet, right? Well, it's kind of old up though. Anyway, because I have to say, the amount of time they spent on that list is ridiculous. So I feel like whether there's better, you know, maybe that's a little bit strong. There's got to be a more efficient and effective way to do it. And I've gone back and forth with them on, you know, we have to get it right. So we're not, you know, every time we need to send something out, it isn't this cumbersome, disjointed exercise. And the other question I have, Bob, is on that transparency thing that Taylor's working on.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like, do we have to do that?
Well-
And have you given her a time budget to work
No,
on it?
no,
Okay.
no, I haven't.
So part of this too is I think you managing the M&S admin time. That's feeling a little bit like a billable bucket to me.
Oh, the transparency certificate that they've been pursuing, and they were pursuing it in advance of me getting here. It's not to try and make an excuse. It's just
Right.
what they were doing. And where that is actually coming from is a requirement of the insurance.
Okay.
They are asking each special district
Right.
to get a certificate of transparency.
So when does that end?
It
When does
could
the
have-
pursuit end?
You know, we were hoping to have it completed by November 7th. That was the target date to get it completed. There are still some things that are outstanding, so.
Okay, I would, you know, again, I would just like from a management standpoint, it's like you have this, you know, what work's left to be done and you have X
Well-
hours to get it done.
Well, and that's where
because-
I'm gonna look really closely at, like, well, I guess it's the October and November billing, because you know, and some of this is like, I don't know how much we have to spend, you know. I don't know, I'll look at it more
And-
critically on those than.
And Taylor's time, I mean, I do know, like, she has been working, we've needed to update the website. It's all stuff that has to be done because it needs to be current. There's some, you know, but it seems to me if they added up their time it takes to get a mailer out, you know, to send an email and get the mail done. You know, most of Mary's stuff, and I realize there's a lot of back of house stuff from the Fin system and just the admin stuff that you have to do. And we also had all the additional, Tom, like the site, you know, the out of district data we had to get for the parcels and those notifications and that.
But, you know, like, I don't know how much we have to update our stakeholder list, like I say, 2 hours, 2 hours.
It's
And
it's a black, yeah, I mean, if
I'd
you,
rather have that, have, Bob do that in conjunction with his other work, because I don't know if that's 2 hours or not. I don't know, but it's,
yeah, and I,
it starts to add up. So we
And-
just need to make
yeah.
sure we need them for the admin, but to the extent, like I said,
well, and I
there's
don't,
nothing we can do
Yeah.
about this. This was a while ago, but I did notice that they took off some of the billing that we had talked about.
Right.
And that's all fine. I'll be interested to see the next two.
yeah, even like just the way Taylor books her time, there's not a lot of fractions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the world I come from, I know, it's,
Okay.
so, I mean, I'm inclined to approve it, but I just they've got to think about, or, you need to know where we are with that portion in the budget, and they've got to manage to set hours a month instead of,
Yeah, I think that's maybe the
Instead of,
better way to do
an
it. is-
open
Yeah, just
ticket.
not open and bill what you feel you need to do. It needs to be more at Bob's direction, and that they shouldn't be doing something unless it's a task that Bob's,
Yeah.
told them to do.
and you've given them, or like, what's a reasonable amount of, what's the estimate, and don't go over that.
Okay. And then you have me. This month was a bit heavier for me, largely again because of the additional agendas. And secondly, it was I had to go back through my own computer and do all the public
We all,
and that's generally, it's a little bit higher than what I have been running. But if you look at my overall budget, which is $49,000, we're still below that. If you break that 49,000 out by 12 months, it should be running right around $4,000 a month. And the last two were 35 and 3,600. So that's what that is. And then the CSDA, they're the $1,000 that was
right, that's
a budgeted amount. And the dues came in at 1,025. So
right.
And I just note that the backup, like you would expect from a legal firm, is really good, and the increments are really good too. I know they have systems that where they have to really track what they're doing. So yeah, I'm comfortable with both of those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, we've had the conversations on the MNS admin in the past. And, I realize we don't have our own staff, and I mean, we're working with what we've got, but I do think at the end of the year, maybe something, whether we do it or ask Doug to run it. So we look at the total load for what the admin time has been versus Doug's.
right.
I think that would be helpful.
Well, and I think there's value in the admin services that M&S has, because they have the staff, and the hourly rate is obviously, it is what it is. It's certainly
Right.
less than what Doug is. I think it just needs to be managed and prioritized moving forward. And I think we'll see some improvement, just to make sure that, at this point in time, until we have a design and a cost and a project we're moving forward with, we should, there, a lot of stuff is waiting on that. We shouldn't be doing a whole lot more until, we know what our project is and we're moving forward, other than what we have to. So,
Yeah, and I think that it does include updates to the community, because we need to keep them.
Yeah.
Keep them going. Okay. So is there anything else, Bob, from your point of view that you want to point out?
No, that you pretty well hit on the cost with the M&S. That was a major concern, obviously.
Do you talk to Doug about, who do you talk to about that? Do you talk to them individually? Do you talk to Doug? How does that?
A
get
little bit of
managed?
both. A little bit of both. So it's just not coming directly to Doug. you know, if I need something from Mary, a posting or something, or a distribution, usually what I do is I send it to all three of them so that all three of them are in the loop as to what I'm requiring and expecting.
I get it, as long as they're not billing to look at the, or, you know, billing to look at, well.
Yes.
Billing to, but I mean, when you have management issues with them, do you talk to Doug and then he
Doug,
talks to
yeah.
the staff?
Yeah,
Okay, as opposed
yeah,
to you dealing with it?
yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, then shall I entertain a motion for 6A, review and recommend payment of invoices?
I'll move approval of item 6A in its entirety.
Second. Any discussion? Is there any public?
No.
Okay. Roll call, I guess. That's right.
Yes.
Haven't been consistent, but
President Palmer,
aye.
Vice President Farren,
Aye.
and of course I don't vote. So it passes on a 2-0. All right.
Item E.
Is just the reports, which you've sort of looked at. The reports, the cash flow, et cetera, is based on the most recent reports that we get back from Finn. So,
So that doesn't include anything we just approved.
right, exactly.
So 230. So what was the spend we just approved? What was the total on those invoices?
I can get that for you.
No, it's so 8, 27.
Just short of 40,000.
Yeah. So that puts us below 200.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that as well.
And then when will we be able to project a budget for next year?
Probably at the end
Next
of
month.
December, I will come up with what I will, what will be a mid-year. And the mid-year will include a projection for the next fiscal year.
Okay, let's make sure that does happen in December. And then I thought we were adding to the finance committee as a standing matter, the grants.
Yeah, and you know, that's on the agenda as well for tomorrow.
Right.
And so I didn't include it here, but Doug will give a report on, you know, what he's taken up. And since getting that assignment a few weeks ago.
Okay. I'm just thinking as a matter of course, where it gets touched
Right.
more than once a month. Whether that's finance, I mean, we can have a discussion, is it a finance or project management? Those would be the two options, but my
suggestion would be that it be the finance committee. Finance committee should have the oversight for the budget and expenditures. And as we get to the retention of the assessment engineer and the development of an actual financial plan, that should all come back to the finance committee first, before it ever gets to the full board.
Right. So we'll just put that on, but put it as part of the regular agenda, just the standing agenda, if you would. Okay, any questions or comments? Anything to point out on the?
I think we've, other than, you know, as I've said, it doesn't contain the information from these.
Right.
So there is a difference there.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I had a question on item 7.
Yes.
So
Next meeting, December 2.
when we get our Stantec invoices as they start coming in.
Yes,
It'd be really nice to have, when they submit an invoice, what's completed. And not like one of these things where, 5 hours working on this or whatnot, like what have you done? Or what have you basically completed? Just something simple to know what we're approving of what they have done. I don't know when we're gonna get that first invoice. I don't know if that'll come next month or not, but
most likely it will. They should be getting me the first invoice, I would imagine, sometime this month.
because I want to just watch, what their progress is for their billing. So that's that. And then the other question is, so on our next, are we going to continue these with a Zoom potential and meeting here or how? I mean, what if 5 people showed up here?
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you about having the finance committee at St. Mark's.
I can ask them. We're going to need to talk to them. They approved us meeting on a regular basis through the end of the year. So I need to talk to them again about continuing.
Okay,
And I can add that it certainly would be easier if we just met in person.
or we can do what we did prior, and that's meet at the M&S conference room, if we can book that.
You can.
Yeah, I mean,
Are we required to be in the district for the meeting?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a question for,
and then are we paying St. Mark's?
no.
Okay, so we need to,
Initially, I actually offered to obviously compensate them something for the use of the facilities. And they basically said because it was a community-based effort and that's part of what their mission is, that they weren't going to be charging us.
okay, well, that's great, but I want to make sure, well, perhaps just, it's great. I mean, if we don't have to pay, we don't have to pay, but I would, if it's part of your conversation about making it a permanent meeting, perhaps just ask them about that again.
And then, what I would do is they have, as you're aware, they have other meeting spaces that are a little bit smaller.
Right,
And it would work better for a committee rather than,
over in that, yeah, there's a
The
couple
full
other
board.
places, yeah, we don't need that, so. This has been temporary COVID arrangement.
yeah, the other option you would have had, and I wouldn't have recommended it, but would have been to adopt a resolution that would allow you to continue to meet remotely or in part remotely, but
I think we should be consistent with all of our meetings, where they're either in person or they're all, they're either all in person or they're all hybrid. And I don't think we want to do that. That's what just to keep it simple.
I'm fine with in person. I just, if someone could, it's just awkward if, if 5 people showed up and you don't know.
yes, yep, absolutely.
Right.
Be better if it were in a public place. The problem is here in Los Olivos, and I don't need to mention it to you guys, the public places are few.
Right, well, so let's explore with St. Mark's on both counts, please.
Yes,
And then we'll see what we can work out, and also find out if it has to be in the district, because if St. Mark's doesn't work, then it seems like that's a better option, unless we have someone else with the conference room that would be willing to have it booked, which is the hard part.
okay.
The
Anything
next
else?
meeting is the 2nd.
Yes,
Okay. So shall,
Yeah, what day is the second?
second should be a Wednesday. It should be the first Wednesday in December, so maybe that's the first.
It's the first.
the
Yeah,
first is Wednesday. Do you want it were you intending it for to be
Yes,
Wednesday?
yeah,
Then
yeah.
it's Wednesday the 1st.
So we could just split, how about if I make a motion that on item 7, we correct the agenda, and it's December 1st at 6 p.m. That location to be determined, not December 2nd.
Yeah.
Second. Yeah, I actually have it on here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay,
Move adjournment at
6:37.
6:37.
second that, so moved, or not so moved, second. And thank you all very much.
Okay.